This tutorial is a continuation from Paper Space for Bookshelf 2. In this one we're going to show you how to create detailed drawings using Paper Space Model Space. So I've only got the views, the orthographic views for the base, and that's the one I'm going to show you. You'll need to create the orthographic views for the other two parts as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to use my cover sheet again as my starting point. So I'm going to right click and move or copy, and then say create a copy, say OK, and now for that one I'm going to rename it. So I right click on the tab down below and I say I'm going to call it Detail Part 1. This doesn't have any bearing on the printout. It's just so that I can tell when I look down at the tabs what each one is. So you can call it Base or Detail Part 1, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now I don't want to use this border. I want to use the border that has the bill of materials in it, which I've already created and I mentioned in Paper Space for Bookshelf Part 2. So let's go to the model space there. My computer's being a little bit slow here. Okay. So I've already created the bill of materials, so that's the border that I want to use. So I'm going to go to Edit, and Copy, and then hit Enter. Make sure you hit Enter to enter those things into the clipboard. And then I'm going to go back to the Detail tab. I'm going to erase the border. And actually, I'm not even going to need this viewport, so I'm going to turn on my viewports, and I can delete this now. And I can do that at any point. Now I'm going to edit. Just waiting for the computer to catch up here. And paste. I'm going to put the border in again. Make sure it's within the margins and try to center it roughly within the margins. Okay, now I've got my bill of materials in here. This one is actually probably already filled out for this particular piece, but I'll leave it and you can always make any changes that you need for the bill of materials. I'm going to change my border. I'm going to call it Detail Part Detail dash Part 1, and then I want this one. We're going to have to figure out the scale for it, and we're going to change this to drawing number 4. Okay, and we would change the date and so on. Now before I go too far, I would just go back to the drawing list and make sure that I've got my title to be exactly the same, not similar but exactly the same as what's on the drawing list, or I need to change the drawing list. So here I've got it as Detail dash Part 1, and on this one I called it Detail dash Part 1, so that's going to be good. Alright, now our next thing to do is to create viewports. So to do that, I can go to MView, it's all one word, so I'm typing that in as MView, and then it asks me down here in the command line to specify corner, and I could put in more than one viewport. I could put in 2, 3, or 4. I'm just going to put in 1 to begin with, so I'm going to do something like that, and then I'm going to hit enter to bring up the same command, and I'm going to put in 1 more, just like this. Okay. So in this viewport I'm going to show the bottom view, and in this view I'm going to show, or in this viewport I'm going to show the front view of the base. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set the scale of the two viewports. I've already calculated the scale of the viewports. I think 1 to 2 is going to work. So I'm going to go and what I've done is I've selected them both. If you needed to set them to different scales for some reason, you could select just one at a time. I'm going to then right click with my mouse, waiting for it to catch up here. Sorry, just waiting for the computer to catch up. And actually, you're not going to be able to see that quite on the screen, so I'm just going to do that up a little bit higher. So I'm going to right-click with my mouse. Sorry, I'm just waiting for this to catch up here. Oh, edit there. The computer is running very, very slowly here. Well, what I can do is go to Modify. So I can go to Modify, and then go to Properties, or if I had been able to get it to work, I should just be able to right-click with my mouse, and then go down to the bottom of the list, and it'll be Properties. So I click on Properties, and then I'm going to go down to Scale. If it's a standard scale, I can select it out of here, 1 to 2. Okay, and if it wasn't a standard scale, let's say I wanted to use 1 to 5, and 1 to 5 isn't there, then what I could do is I could type in 1/5. Okay, and then that would come up with the custom scale. But I'm actually going to try 1 to 2 and see if that'll work for me. Okay, and then I can close that window. I don't need it anymore. And in this viewport, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that I can see the bottom view. So I'm going to double click into it, and I'm going to pan up. And I'm also going to need to then double click out to get back to paper space. I'm going to need to make that viewport bigger. Okay, and a bit bigger that way. Okay, that seems to be good. And then I'm going to get away from that one. And for the other viewport, I want to see just the front view. So I'm going to double click into it. And again, I'm going to pan until I've got just the front view in there. And I can escape and go back to paper space. And now for its viewport, I'm going to adjust it so that I can see what I need to see. Along this way. And this one. I think I've got the right thing shown in there, so I'm just going to look around. No, I've got actually the border here. So I need to double click into it and pan over until I've got the actual base. Okay, and that's what I want to see. Okay. I got to make it so that they don't line up, so that it's easy for me to tell that I still need to align the views. Okay. And so normally we would align the views. So, next thing I want to do is I want to take those two views, I'm going to highlight them, and I'm going to put them